I never finished school. I just quit school and took my business and moved out to British Columbia to Golden, and I started designing homes that really appealed to me, and it was really fun.
Hello and welcome to Outer Spaces, a podcast dedicated to empowering designers and contractors in the outdoor living space. I am on a mission to scour the globe to find and interview the most brilliant mindset coaches, sales strategists, and business leaders alive, and present them in a way that landscapers, hardscapers, and outdoor living pros can immediately put them into use to grow and thrive. On Outer Spaces, we are passionate about breaking the chains of small mindsets and helping contractors just like you take control of their businesses and their lives. My name is Joshua Gillow, and through my 27 years of dirt under the nails experience, I look forward to sharing tips, strategies, and other contractor success stories here on the Outer Spaces podcast. Now, let's get on with the show. Hello and welcome back to the show. This week I have Alex Foreshew on. He's an architect up in Ontario. He does incredible buildings. He builds these most amazing homes tied perfectly into nature, and the outdoor living space just flows so beautifully in and out of the house. And I had to bring him on the show for you guys to meet this guy and to listen to him, how he went from a single business owner up to a team of 18, just world changing people. It's amazing on his team. And he talks about the struggles he's gone through and the impact of coaches and mentors in his life and things that he had to battle in order to get to where he is now. And it's just such a powerful interview. Stay tuned all the way to the end. Just so many good nuggets in this one. Thanks for listening. Hello, and welcome back to the Outer Spaces podcast. This is your host, Joshua Gillow. And today my guest is the founding principal at Foreshew Design and Associates Incorporated, located in Port Carling, Ontario. He takes great pride in both the work of his firm and his team's collective. He is dedicated to creating extraordinary projects that are influenced by relaxed lake lifestyle blended with the active mountain culture. I know I'm going to love this guy already. With several years of experience, he strongly believes a foundation of on-site construction experience mixed with a healthy knowledge of architectural style, aesthetics, and creativity breeds excellence in design. His work ethic, motivation to push the boundaries, and the positive attitude towards change ensures his clients receive the best service imagined when it comes to planning and designing their projects. So, Alex Foreshew, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Josh. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, came across your website, and I know you're up in the Ontario, part of the world, and I was just blown away by the kind of work that you're doing. Like I've seen a lot of architects do cool stuff, but the way you're able to blend nature, outside, inside to the architecture, so it feels like it's all one. You see these houses all over the place, these track houses where they're just a plastic box stuck somewhere, and they have absolutely no connection to the planet except the fact that they keep people warm and out of the rain. You take it to a completely different level. I love the use of the materials that you use, very natural materials. It blends beautifully with the surrounding the surrounding environment. And I love that you're able to pull that together. So I wanted to bring you on and talk to you about your philosophy, how you came up with this. And another thing that I'm very interested in, based on what I've seen on your website, is you do a lot of boathouses. I'm thinking, like, who's got the extra cash to put like a 6-bay boathouse in that looks more beautiful than most homes I get to see? So I'd love to see how you get that and how you find these clients too. I mean, seriously. So
Yeah,
a lot of things to talk about.
nice. Yeah, well, just to touch on like kind of what we do, like our whole MO up here locally in Muskoka, and I would say like currently that's probably about 75% to 80% of our design work is located in the Muskoka area. And so and just to back up, I guess a little, Port Carling, Ontario is it's actually nicknamed the hub of the lakes. So
Hmm.
in Muskoka, if listeners do not know where that is or what that is, it's been called like uh, the north side of the Hamptons
Okay.
before in like news articles and things like that. It's where the affluent come to summer in Muskoka and play in the water and enjoy nature, and it's a pretty special place. There's three big lakes. There's Lake Rosso, Lake Joseph, and Lake Muskoka, and they're all connected. Lake Joseph, Lake Rosso are connected at the same water level,
Hmm.
and you can go through a small set of lift locks, where there's a hydraulic system and the water comes in and lowers your boat down to the level of Lake Muskoka, and then you have basically almost unlimited boating, which is a pretty special area, pretty special thing to do. So that's
Mm.
just a little bit about where we live. But going back to our work, 75%, 80% of our work is located in Muskoka, and it's not necessarily necessary housing, let's
Yeah.
call it. So you
Hmm.
noticed, or you brought up before, like there's these tract homes and other homes where it's like providing shelter, warmth, things of that nature. Obviously, we're doing the same thing, but our market, these homes are usually like second, third, multiple homes.
Yeah.
So and it's fun. It's we get to play in that area where this is not a necessity and it's a lifestyle. And so we have really, myself and my team have really kind of dialed in, and we've been up in Muskoka now for 8 years. And we've really dialed in like that lifestyle and designing that lifestyle within the
Hmm.
homes and the spaces that we create. And we really cater to diving into how these people live and how these people function and how they maybe even how they want to live, how they dream to live. And we go through a whole bunch of different steps and listing of their program and lots of chats with how they want to live, how they live currently, what's not working with like at maybe one of their properties currently. And we really dig deep and try to design something really custom and tailored to them and their family and what aesthetic that they want to give to the lakes, because there's a lot of wealth that comes to these lakes, and it sometimes almost feels like a little bit of a competition
Mm.
sometimes,
I can
where it's
imagine. Yeah.
like, oh, my friend has this, my friend's boathouse has this. We want to incorporate something of this into our space or whatever. So it's a really fun place to work.
I can imagine, dude, especially seeing the work that you're doing now. And, I found it interesting what you just mentioned about going deep with the client to figure out how they live. I feel like so many people in our industry, contractors specifically, say, Mrs. Jones, what do you want? And she's like, well, I want a patio. I want a this. I want a that. I want a pool. They want all these things. And they let the client kind of dictate what's going to happen without even realizing whether the client truly wants what they're asking for. So I'd love
Yeah.
to get a little bit deeper into how you help unlock that client so you can get the very best results. And it doesn't have to be a $10 million project for that. It could be a $50,000 backyard patio, but it's
Yeah.
going deeper into it with the client and finding out what the true motivators are. So how have you done that to make sure you're really getting it right? And then when she walks out at the end or he walks out at the end in this project, that they are like, this is better than I could have ever dreamed of because this guy helped guide me through a process where I could find the best result for my future.
Right. Yeah. So what I truly believe in is designing for the client some kind of space like that they are going to ultimately like fall in love with, and we do that um, a few different ways. We really like to educate the client into what design style is, what other people are doing in their places, or what we would suggest in, say, like a lakeside lifestyle. So we like to educate the client so that they are comfortable enough with making design decisions that they might not even know that they could have done before. Because like the whole reason that a client would come to our firm or hire someone like myself, uh, it, we're problem solvers at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day. We're glorified problem solvers. Our clients have a problem. They have an expanded family and they want uh, a new cottage, or maybe they bought too many boats and they need a bigger boathouse.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to go through that process with our clients and figure out what is working, how they want it to look, how they want it to feel. Uh, and all along the way, um, we've been doing this long enough now that even when the client is answering those questions or giving us feedback or anything like that. You always have to kind of like read between the lines a little bit. And with educating the client, it promotes a lot of great conversation. It makes them comfortable. We also use, when we're designing, we use a 3D modeling software called Revit, which I don't, it's by Autodesk. It's a construction documentation tool, 3D modeling tool, and we also use realistic rendering as well. So when we're going through the design process and we're kind of extracting all of this information out from our clients and we're writing this kind of project brief, then it's our job to dissect that project brief. We do multiple site visits so that we're understanding how this project can relate to the land, blend in with the topography. What we try to do is we're going to be designing this cottage or this house or this boathouse. We want it to make it look like it was there for years. And obviously, we have to implement good construction practices. And up here, there's a ton of natural bedrock or Canadian shield. And say 30, 40 years ago, the construction process was scrape the organics off the bedrock, pin rebar to the bedrock, pour your leveling footings, and there you go. Like, you'll start your cottage and you might have an unheated crawl space and maybe put your mechanicals down there or whatever. But we all know as contractors or whatever in the field, water always wins. So
Always.
water's coming through the leveling footings into the basement, and it creates that cottage smell that everybody's kind of used to. And it's must, or it's mold or something like that. So there's a lot of blasting of bedrock here to create a stable and properly draining foundation for these cottages. But at the end of the day, that's just the best way to construct these now. But at the end of the day, we have a whole vision of bringing the landscape back in, and landscape design is so critical to the success of these projects. And we try to, in our process, we try to include all of those consultants, all the necessary consultants right off the bat so that these projects are successful at the end of the day. So using that software, having multiple conversations, and we use a design questionnaire as well to extract all this information out. We're creating a concept, floor plans, elevations, 3D renderings, material palettes, reference imagery as well. So we're trying to package this whole design into this really aesthetically pleasing package so that when we reveal it to the clients and we explain our thoughts and how it interacts with other buildings or the natural topography or features of the landscape, it really speaks to them. And we never get anything right off the first go, but we try to set ourselves up for the best success possible, and that kind of process has really been successful for us in the past 8 years.
I love that. And it sounds to me like you've got good ears and you're listening to the clients. You mentioned reading between the lines because they may ask for one thing but really mean something else. So it's not taking their word for it. It's asking them deeper questions. Am I right? About, okay, you mentioned this. Did you mean this or did you mean that? And going deeper, not just saying surface.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know getting into this field I would have to put a hat on as a psychiatrist or psychology major, but it's definitely, you have to read between the lines and you have to pick up on different notes. And then there's always the dynamic between the partners, right? Whether it be a husband and wife or someone else, like it's interesting. It's fun.
How important is it for you to have both decision makers at the meetings and conversations throughout this. And do you ever run into where clients are like, I make all the decisions for this, I will be the one you're going to talk to, my husband or wife is never part of this? Like, have you ever run into that?
I definitely have ran into that for sure.
Yeah.
And it all depends on the client. It could go extremely well if they're good at communicating with their partner.
Yeah.
But sometimes we've found that there could be like a broken telephone situation
Yeah.
where we're producing these design based revisions or even the initial design based on one person's approach. And then the partner looks at it, and then the main point of contact brings back the feedback, but it may not be the actual feedback. So it's
Yeah.
you have to you have to almost like hit the timeout button when you realize those things are happening, and it's like, okay, Mr. Smith, I really think that we should have a collaborative meeting with everybody involved, just because we want to get the information right from the horse's mouth, to use a something like that. So
Yeah.
uh, that's how that's how we navigate that.
Yeah, it's so important to have them both involved. You're exactly right. Because if someone's feeding you information, they're only feeding you through their lens, right? Their vision of it. And it's not helpful
Hmm.
when it's not full. And then you're doing tons of extra work and not getting to where you need to go. So it's important.
Correct.
Well, thank you for that. So, big question for you. Obviously, as an architect and creating these incredible spaces that blend so beautifully to nature, what does good architecture mean to you?
Good architecture means to me, I think that especially especially designing in a natural space, a natural surrounding, um, the built form really needs to blend with nature. It really needs to be light on the land, um, look as if it's been there for years. I I learned a long time ago from one of my mentors. He's also an architect in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Um, when you stand back from a built form or a project that you've designed, you should be able to scan the project left to right. And starting on the left hand side, you should be able to see nature as you saw it when you first came upon the project, and you should be able to then see the edge of the built form. And there should be some hierarchy as we go across to, say, the middle or somewhere in the project. But once we get to that hierarchical point, it should flow back into nature. So building up the form, breaking down the form, and spilling back into the natural landscape. And so that's one of the philosophies that I learned a long time ago and has been super helpful in creating beautiful designs and spaces and structures. Um, and another huge thing, and I found that you either have this or you don't. And I'm thankful that I seem to have it, but it's discretion with proportion and scale, because you can design the most extravagant, the most expensive, the most detailed house, structure, boathouse, whatever. But if your proportion and scale with volumes and entrances and windows and fenestration and just even roof lines, everything like that, you can almost like tell when it's off, and you have like a gut feeling where it's like, well, this is beautiful, but something feels a little bit off. And like making sure that designing to human scale is
Mm.
really important as well. So I have seen um, a lot of homes, and I think you see this more in like suburban or city center areas where entrances to homes are like 2 stories tall or massive.
Yeah.
And to me, and my trained eye, that looks very intimidating to me. Like, why
Hmm.
it doesn't look very welcoming or very homey or cozy. And who knows, maybe the architect or the designer wanted that feeling as you walk through the door, or maybe the client wanted that feeling through the door, and that's something that you would uh, glean from conversations with your client. But for me, if I was set to my own devices, I would definitely resort to more human scale, making sure proportion and scale work harmoniously together, and we have a rise and fall in the project, and it blends into nature. And I really like using natural materials and earth tones and things like that, and lots of glass, because with glass, you're reflecting nature.
Yeah.
And you can use, like, some clients have wanted to have a white cottage or a white home or something like that, but it's always framing the view, because people are spending lots of money on these lakefront properties. They want the view, they paid for the view. So framing that view gives us the ability to use glass in our exterior facade, and it helps with just blending in with nature, which is really, really cool.
No, I love that, dude. You do such a beautiful job of that. And guys out there listening, if you want to take a look at this website I keep referring to, it's foreshewda.com. So it's FORESHEWDA.com. Take a look at it. It's I love how it fades from black and white into color. I think that's just, well, this is another great detail, of course, but I love it a lot. So I'm going to switch gears here now that everyone knows that you build incredible spaces, that you have a great aesthetic and an eye for all of this. Now that we have all of that, that's great. But as business owners, we then have to build a team, right? We have to start building a team. So how did you start doing that? Like, when did you realize, holy moly, I need more people around me? Has it always been that way? And then how did you build the team out?
Yeah, so I'll just give you a real brief background of kind of where I started. So I went to school in Kitchener, Ontario, at a college called Conestoga College. I went there for 3 years. During those 3 years, I started Forshew Design Associates when I was 20. So I'm now 33, so I've been doing this for 13 years. Um, so started when I was 20, went to school for 3 years, and it was a 4-year degree. And I had this affinity to heavy timber frame construction, and integrating that within homes that were designed. And I really wanted a crack at designing some of these spaces. So I was cold emailing uh, tons of different timber framers all over North America to see if I could integrate into their team and design some of their spaces. And I got this great opportunity with a timber framer out in Golden, British Columbia,
Hmm.
Canadian Timber Frames, and they asked me to come out and help them start their design department. So I never finished school. I just quit school and took my business and moved out to British Columbia to Golden, and I started designing homes that really appealed to me, and it was really fun. And through that, I got to meet so many cool and interesting people, because heavy timber framing is a niche market.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess I was decent at it. So I got introduced to so many people, and that's where I met one of my mentors, Tim Stone, who mentioned before. His company, Kelly and Stone Architects, down in Steamboat, Colorado, and I worked with him on a project, and then he kind of recognized my skill, and he kind of took me under his wing and told me to move down to Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and work with his team a little bit. So I did that, and I lived in Steamboat Springs for more than 6 months, worked with his team, worked with Tim. Uh, they also have a satellite office over in Lake Tahoe, so I worked out there for a little bit as well, and then I moved back to British Columbia, and then I moved back to Ontario. And that whole adventure, I guess, was like 4 or 5 years. Um, and moving back to Ontario, I love the active lifestyle of mountain living.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I said, I knew of Muskoka. I'd never lived there before because I grew up in Kawartha Lakes, which is an hour and a half south of Muskoka. But uh, I said, if I'm moving back to Ontario, I know the only space where I'm going to be living, and that's Muskoka. So at 26, I took my company, and at that point, it was just a sole proprietorship. It was just me that entire time, and obviously working with other teams. And moving to Muskoka, I knew that I had to be in Port Carling. I had known other contractors that were in the area, and I knew the caliber of their projects. So I said, well, that's where I got to be. So I opened up a small office with one of the contractors. I rented the office from him, and I hired my first employee. Um, and I guess at that point in time, I was definitely getting into larger projects, but I had worked with teams for the past 3, 4 years, like other people's teams,
Mhm.
but almost as my own kind of thing. And I just realized it's like, okay, well, if I really want to be detailed and I really want to do this, I need my own team. So I hired my first employee in 2016. Uh, then I got more work. Then I had more interest. Hired another one. Hired another one, and then my business partner Kate Sadler was the third employee that I ever hired, and she was great because she kind of pushed me into a whole new realm that I didn't even think was possible. Because at that point in time, I was only doing architecture and planning, so
Mhm.
that's conceptual, making sure that everything was working with city bylaws or township bylaws, building permit documents, applying for permits, and that was it. But she called me out of the blue and she was like, "Hey, I'm an interior designer. I know you don't offer that within your firm, but you should." And I was like, "Okay, well, that could be kind of cool." And so I had an interview with her, and she was amazing and bubbly and so talented. And um, we we ventured out on opening up an interiors department within Foreshew Design Associates, and so then we had to build that team as well. And so by that time, we were kind of getting a little overloaded with people in the small office that we had rented. So uh, we found a larger office, just 5 minutes away, still in Port Carling. We fully renovated that and filled that space up with interior designers and more architectural designers. And yeah, we just kept building it out and renovating the spaces. And now, between the interior design studio and the architectural studio, we have about 18 staff today.
Got it.
Um, and that's spread about around 3,000 square feet of office space. Um, but yeah, that's kind of a brief background on like how I got from now to then, or
Mhm.
from then to now. And sorry, what was your question again?
I was so enamored by your story, but it's about building that team, right? You said you started out as one and sole proprietor, and then worked into building a team. And my bigger question is like, okay, how do you go from 1 to 18? And then my bigger question is going to be asked right after this is how did you become the leader that could lead that and to empower others to lead as well in this? Because you can't do it alone. You can't run 18 people all by yourself. You could try to
No.
micromanage it, but it won't work for nothing. So how was that for you? What was your journey like? I'd love for the listeners to see someone who's doing it really well, how they struggled and moved through up in the ranks in order to become who they are today.
Right. Yeah. So I have found that I'm really good at finding work. Um, and with finding work, you need talented people around you. Um, and so it has definitely been a struggle, I would say, just because Muskoka is 2 hours north of the biggest city center, which is Toronto,
Mm-hmm.
Ontario. And it's a pretty, it's not necessarily remote, let's say, but let's just call it remote. So there's not a lot of housing The housing's expensive. Um, there's not a lot of people living in the area. So in order to really find that team, you really need to be have someone that's invested, have someone that's passionate about design, and they're passionate about what you're doing. And what I have to do as a leader is get these projects and be retained by these clients that fire these people up and
Yeah.
like give some real satisfaction and fulfillment on what they're doing. It's just not another job. And this is what fires me up so much is like we get to work on these amazing projects with these massive budgets and we get to have fun. It's not necessity housing. It's we get to create spaces and build forms that basically whatever you can imagine and works in the Canadian climate,
Yeah.
obviously. Um, but it's making sure company culture is big for me. I know that I would be nowhere without my team, nowhere near. So I think that's important to me to give back to my team and make sure that they're appreciated. And we try to do a lot of company events. We've created a really comfortable office space for people to enjoy. Um, Anything that our teammates want, I try to appease because I know that they're so valuable. The team is so valuable. If you don't have a team, you're nothing.
Yeah.
So finding those finding those key people are hard, but when you find them, you really need to look after them,
Yeah.
especially in this location.
I can see that, especially if you're in a very remote location where you don't have a gigantic pool to pull from. The
Hmm.
work has to be what keeps them coming back, and obviously the team and all that. So that's really cool that you've found that. So, what has been some of your greatest lessons developing yourself as a leader of this team? That you've kind of in the beginning was like I didn't see that coming, and then I had to develop into this because we have to keep constantly growing in order to be satisfied. The human spirit wants growth and it wants progress, right? We need to
Hmm.
keep moving. When we stop is when we feel like we're lost and we don't know what to do. There's nothing pulling us forward. So how have you as a leader, you know, constantly kept yourself growing so that you could help lead this team?
Yeah. So I think innately, um, obviously, I'm a creative person, um, and innately, I think I am an introvert.
Hmm.
So there would be nothing more that I would love to go into my office and go into my creative space, shut the door, and listen to some great tracks and just
Yeah,
design.
you
That's
and me
exactly
both.
what I would want. But
Yeah,
um, something that I have had to realize and switch gears is I can't be that person all the time. Obviously, I have to for I'm still design lead with all of my team, but I have lots of other great designers that can do amazing work. But I really need to become a manager and a manager of my team and driving schedules and uh, letting them in on what I'm thinking. And that takes a lot because like I'm sure that you've heard and other people have heard is like, well, I don't want to explain this to them. It takes so much time. It'd just be easier if I did it myself.
oh
And
yeah,
you can't have that mentality if you're going to grow a team because you will be by yourself and you'll have to do it all yourself and people won't appreciate that you're trying to further their cause as much as you are trying to further your own cause. And so that's one of my big struggles. And hopefully, if any of my team listens to this, then hopefully I'm doing a good job. But um, that's been one of my larger struggles, I would say.
yeah. Yeah, it is tough. I mean, there's times when you just want to go out there and just bare knuckle it, right? Just be like, hey, it's gonna be a lot easier if I just do it myself. And then, but the problem is, and I had that same want as well throughout the years, and I was like, if I stop doing that, if I just say, look, all right, figure it out. or ask them,
Mhm.
what do you think the best solution could be? And just
Mhm.
let them come up with ideas. And, sometimes, Alex, and I'm sure this has happened to you as well, you let me know, but you sit back and be like, that was a heck of a lot better than my idea, right? So it's being
Yeah,
humble enough to know that it's possible. And then, because that takes you out of the have to be there seat. You allow
exactly.
others to have, autonomy and come up with their own ideas. And when they own those ideas, that's where the culture starts coming from, is when they're like, they listen to my idea. We're doing things that work different because of an idea I had. And when you get rid of the ego as an owner and say, look, I probably don't have all the right answers here. I'm here to
Mhm.
guide. That's what I'm here to do. And I'll have ideas. I'll throw things on the table. But if someone else's idea is better than mine, we're going with that. And
Yeah,
leaving the
exactly.
space for that is huge, don't you think?
Exactly. Yeah. And in my job or my career is like um very driven by time in the seat equals product. So it's not like I
Mm-hmm.
have some kind of passive income or some way other than employees to get those projects done or get that revenue in the door. So it's like very tied to me being in the seat. But I I try to hire this way, and there's people within my team right now that they are definitely smarter than I, and I want to hire
Yeah.
that way just because if I'm the smartest guy in the room, I am in the wrong room.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Did it take you time to humble yourself to that, especially being, a self starter, and going like to eventually say, when you're in a room with people, you're like, all these guys are smarter than me. Like, do you ever feel like that kind of creep in, that imposter syndrome? Did you ever have any of that?
oh yeah, like worthiness issues for sure, and like
Yeah.
tons of my clients are these
Yeah.
multimillionaires, multi-billionaires who are amazing at business and creating something from nothing. And I am fortunate enough, and this is what's so one of the things that's so cool about what we do is I get to have real conversations with these people and figure out how they live and what drives them. And then another part of that is like a lot of my clients become friends after we design these places for them, and that really fires me up. Like
Yeah.
the network that I have been able to grow out of this design position that we created is immense, and it's so cool. And I that's one of the things that I love most about what we do. But um, yeah, worthiness issues when it comes to it's like really they want my ideas or our ideas.
Yeah.
It's really cool to experience. But I would say like one of the biggest things that have has changed who I am. I was introduced to a business coach 3 years ago. His name is Chad James, and Chad and I have worked through a ton of different things throughout the past 3 years, and has really given me kind of like a little like a different leash on life and really opened my eyes to things in business and personal that I would have never known without his guidance and without his advice. So shout out
It's
to Chad
incredible.
James.
Absolutely, man. So many look and see successful people and say, you know what? They're just lucky. They were part of the lucky sperm club. They just right time, right place. They had a right talent. They got the right deal. What they don't realize is successful people have coaches and mentors. They have
Hmm.
to. That's how they compress decades into days. They take somebody who's spent 60 years learning something, they compress it into 6 months. And you're like, wait a minute here. So I don't have to wait until I'm 60 to learn that. I can learn it when I'm 30 or 20. Yes,
Hmm.
that's the beautiful part about coaches and mentors. And when you start out, you might not think you have a budget for it. I think it's one of the first things you need to invest in. You need to be investing more in you than on you, right? In you
Yeah.
meaning in your growth, in your mindset, in your business ability and acumen, and your skill set, and not so much on the clothes and the fancy cars and all the bullshit that you're trying to show success with. Work on you
Hmm.
first. You can have all those things later. Work on you first.
Yeah, totally agree. And what I have heard people say, and I believe it as well, it's like the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah, that's exactly true. Yeah, no doubt. Man, so I've definitely enjoyed listening to your to what you're doing in life and all that, and coaching and the mentors that you've had in your life. Started out, it sounds like right out of school, you actually quit school to go work with one, right? So it was that, starting out, and how powerful that's been for you. What kind of advice could you give somebody listening who might be thinking about having a mentor, hiring somebody, trying to find the right one? How can tell me a little bit about your journey in finding the right one? And is this something that you search out, or do they search you out at times, and they kind of land at the right time?
Yeah, well, one thing that I have really enjoyed, and if there's any entrepreneur out there or business owner, they'll have this thought as well, where it's like it's kind of lonely, uh, not necessarily at the top, but being an entrepreneur, and there's not a lot of people that you can talk to these feelings and these problems and what you're going through and employee problems and things like that. And it's sometimes can be super tough, super defeating. So having someone that you can kind of just lay out all of your cards to
Yeah.
and be honest, be truthful. And sometimes truth hurts.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to get smacked up the head a few times in order
Mm-hmm.
to get in line. But having a coach has really helped me check myself and check my ego. And um, obviously, with being a designer, being a creative, I think you have to have some ego within yourself, or else you wouldn't be putting forth your ideas and your
Mm.
opinions and things of that nature. But I think Chad has really taught me when to turn it on and when you don't need it.
Yeah.
So that's been super helpful. But just just a sounding board. So if you can find a mentor, someone that you look up to, and I was lucky enough to have Tim as mine, which I'm super thankful of. He's taught me a lot. But yeah, sounding board, someone to be honest with.
Yeah.
It's been super amazing.
100%, dude. I meet with mine. I've had for like 5, 6 years now, and every week we talk about all kinds of stuff, right? We go deep on many things, and a good coach will never tell you what to do. A good coach will ask you questions, and you got to figure it out. And in the beginning, I'm kind of like, man, I'm paying you how much, and you're not telling me an answer here? But he would
Right.
do it a disservice if he's like, do this, this, and this. Here's your 3 things to do. So he's always asking questions and letting you figure it out. And I'm like, oh man, this is awesome,
Oh yeah,
But
for sure. Well, and
it's made all the
another
difference.
thing, another thing that I would say as well is, and I don't know if all business coaches are like this, and I call Chad my business coach because that's how he was introduced to me, and I think that's what he obviously focuses on initially. But there's been so many times where our sessions, and we meet for an hour every week, um, our sessions don't even touch on business, and
Yep.
it's just all personal things. And especially with being an entrepreneur and a business owner, your business is your life,
Yeah.
and like you bring that home. Your partner hears about it all the time. It never shuts off in your head. So
Yeah.
any personal problem or interaction you have, it's so influenced by how business is going. If you don't have cash flow, your personal life could suck.
Yeah.
Or like if everything's going great in business, oh my God, like your personal life could be amazing. So like
Yeah.
I would say that, and I don't know if all business coaches are like this, if they have that personal part to them, but I think that's another great addition to how my experience has went. It's like, oh yeah, let's talk about business, but like how's personal going? Check in
Yeah.
on that.
Yep. And you're absolutely right, because they are so interbraided together, kind of like a big old rope, right? And if you're not careful and you think you can be one way at business and be different at home or be different in your personal life, you're just lying to yourself. The reality
Yeah.
is you can never grow your business faster than you're growing personally. And if you're not doing anything to grow personally, then your business will not last long growing. It just can't, because the leader of that business needs to be outpacing the business itself in growth. And if you don't go back, so many times I talk to business owners that say, oh, it's no big deal. I'm just going to grow the business a bunch, but I don't plan on growing myself at all. Like I don't want to talk about that stuff. I don't want to talk about feelings. I don't want to talk about fears I have, anxieties that I have. I don't want to talk about this stuff. I just want more money.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, if you're lucky enough to get a little more money, it won't last long. You've got to face those fears. You've got to go in and face those demons. You've got to face them head on. If you've got vices, you've got addictions, you've got things that you're dealing with. We all deal with shit, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not honest and look in the mirror and say, you know what, I need to face this now, or I'm going to be stuck here forever.
Oh, yeah.
Has that been your experience as well?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, like vices, problems within your own personal mind and actions that you do is like, it's so tightly, it's how you act in your business as well. Like,
Yep.
so getting that in check, would be paramount as like any advice I would give to someone. And another point that I just wanted to bring up, you talked about like, if you're only driven by money, then like you might be lucky enough to get a little bit, but it may not last. But like if you switch that around and you go full speed ahead into something that you're passionate about and something that fires you up, you'll never have to look for money again in your life because it'll just be there.
It will. Amen. Amen, dude. You couldn't be more on focus. If you're focusing on transactions all the time, you'll probably get a couple. You focus on transformations and changing people's lives, man, that pays so many more dividends. The lowest form of currency is money. The highest is relationships. Yeah. You're finding that out with all these amazing relationships you're building with all your clients, right? That's really where the true wealth is. It's not in the money. It's those relationships. And I know that sounds crazy to people when they're going paycheck to paycheck or barely able to keep cash flow moving in a business. I get that. I'm just letting you know from the other side, someone has been through all of that shit before. Getting to the other side of it, when relationships become your primary focus, everything changes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, money is just a result of the work put in.
Yeah.
And it's like, if that's the way you look at it and it's not the primary focus, I think your mindset completely changes and you can attack business with a new view. And I think that's really empowering.
Yeah. But it does require one big thing: faith.
Yeah.
You've got to have faith that you're not going to have all the answers. And whatever that means for you is, I'm not here to start preaching. My point is to have faith in something bigger than you. Because when you do, you can make those big changes. You can make those big leaps. You can go from being a one-man shop to going to 18 on a team, and knowing that each and every day your decisions impact their lives, their families, their futures. It's a lot of weight that comes with that. But having faith to know that in your heart, you're always going to lead them in the right direction, and that you might not be able to see it yet, but you know it's coming. There's a knowing that happens with that faith component.
Yeah, well, and I would say just to tack onto that, like abundance mindset is something that I have learned with working with my coach. And abundance mindset basically is like, hey, I got this. Whatever comes at me, I will figure out a solution. And like, you can't win all the time. And like, to be honest, it would be kind of boring if you're just cruising through life on a cloud of pillows, basically. You need struggle. You need struggle to appreciate, right? Like, if you don't have any struggle and everything's on easy street, when things go wrong, they really go wrong, and you don't really know how to handle it. So
That's right.
Having an abundance mindset going into business life, personal life, I think is another great asset to have to bring forth.
I totally agree. And then to build on that, the idea of failure. Oh, so much of a fear. It used to be one of my big fears is fear of failure. Like, what happens if I try this and it doesn't work? How much money am I going to lose? What are people going to think? Oh my goodness, they're going to realize that hell, most of this is just one banana peel away from falling apart. Like we're all on this journey of they think, okay, when you get to a certain point, like you're all very insulated. It's like no, you that mindset oftentimes if you don't work on it goes with you. And then you see people that do really well fail quickly because they keep that old mindset and they don't move with it. But my bigger point is when it comes to failure, it's knowing that it is part of success. It is not the opposite of success. Without failure, there is no growth. There is no reality. There is no humbling, getting a little slice of humble pie, right? So those failures, if you take them as, oh, woe is me, I can't believe this happened to me. Oh my God, this is the most horrible thing. You can do it that way, but you're going to end up a victim the rest of your life. Or you can stop and choose to think about it as, all right, wow, okay, that's one way that didn't work. What other way can I try? What other way can I try? How many times do I got to hit that wall or bust through that rock in order to make the crack that I need, right? To keep coming at it because it's only a matter of time. The distance between you and success is only time. You're going to need a lot of failures to get there. I fail constantly. Each and every day I fail because if I'm not pushing hard enough. That's the way I look at it. So how has your relationship with failure been? And yeah, I mean, how has that helped you? How has failure been the fuel, not the reason why you haven't gotten where you want to go?
I think that it's healthy to realize failure when it comes at you, um, and like take a minute, realize it happened, and like again, that helps you check that ego and say, I'm not invincible. I'm like I was doing great, and now this smacked me down. Uh, Realizing it, checking the ego, and saying, okay, this is actually something I really want, but now I've learned that that angle does not work. So, how am I going to recalibrate and look at how I can overcome this? And like, don't like again, I like to, and you might not like this, but I don't like to believe in stress, even though I know that it's a very real thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I look at stress in a completely different light, where stress is a problem, and I know that problems there's always a solution to a problem, and the solution to the problem it may not be the most enjoyable solution. Um, it may really hurt, but there's always a solution to the problem. And the way that I look at stressful situations or failure, obviously there's stress within failure. Um, I really try to look at the silver linings and I really try to have that abundance mindset. It's like, okay, we're here now. Where do we go from here? How can we make this a positive outcome, or how can we make it the most positive outcome it can be? And I've said that to a lot of people and they don't really align with that thinking, but it really helps me. Really helps me to know that, like, okay, I'm here. That's okay. We're gonna get out of it alive. It's just
Yeah,
which is the best way to go.
100%. And that the knowing that there will be a way. It might not be
Hmm.
in my head now, but there is a way out. What our mind loves to do is create unsolvable problems, right? And so when we're like, oh goodness, there's just no way out of this, and the fear sets in, and then all the worry sets in, and all the anxiety sets in because there's no way out of this box. But
Hmm.
when you have the mindset, to your point, that man, there's always a solution. I might not have it yet. Yet's a key word, right? Yet, but it'll come. We'll get there.
Yeah,
We'll figure it
and
out.
it's
We're gonna
okay.
hire
It's
somebody that
okay to
does
not
this.
have it. It's okay not to have it right
Exactly.
away either. There's a lot of times, and I can relate this back to my position at the company. Is like there's tons of times when I have designer's block, where I'm sitting at my
Mm,
drafting table. I have all the information in front of me, and I have some ideas, but nothing is coming out. And you
yeah.
just have to realize it's like that's okay. So put the pencils down, go away from your drafting table, work on some other things, and maybe come back in a few hours or a couple days, and it just like pours out of you. And
Yes.
So I think like looking at failure in the same light where it's like also again like being okay with that you don't have the right answer the minute something goes wrong.
Yeah.
That's okay. You're
You're
human.
not a failure. Yeah, exactly. Not a failure. You're not doing anything wrong. None of us have all the answers all the time. It's so often it just takes some time and just have the faith again. Have that understanding that there's plenty, and to your point of abundance, there's plenty out there for everybody. It maybe just takes a couple minutes, a couple hours, a couple days to get that juice back, to get on that table and start just cranking out an amazing design. I know there was times for me when designing outdoor living spaces that I was like, I got 4 designs to finish this week, and I didn't feel like doing any of them. I honestly, I pick up a paper and I was like, nope. I go on a computer. I'm like, nothing's happening. Sorry, dude, nothing's happening. I started feeling like a failure. I'm like, did I lose it? Did I lose that thing that I had that made it so great before that I could just do this like Wonder Boy? I could get this all done, and then I sit there and like, did I lose it? Where'd it go? And then to your point, an hour later, 15 minutes later, 3 days later, I sit down and blast out the best design I've ever had. And then I'm like, it's back. Great. But I'm like, how you don't always know, right? You get it, right? The creative juices don't always flow. And when they're demanded now, you can work that muscle over time. You can get a better sense of how, your mind works. And you're like, okay, well, I'm probably morning is better for me on average, but it's not always the case. I'm not a night guy, so that doesn't really work a lot. But what if we flipped it around and see what happens, right? Just keep an open mind, knowing you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. Sometimes it's just not the right time, and that's okay. But to give
Yeah.
yourself the grace in that, that's the pressure that's let off, and the anxiety and the worry and all that stuff just starts to wash away, because you're like, no, it's still there. It just takes maybe a little bit more time to get there, because my mind has to process things so I can knock it out.
Yeah. And like trying to find, as you said, like the things that kind of like almost triggers that kind of like put yourself in the best position to be creative.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so like for me, I'm a morning guy. I like getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, doing my morning routine, and going into the office before anyone else is in, and
yep,
putting on some nice music, have a coffee, and just being in front of my drafting table with a stack of 11 by 17 and being
yeah,
able to be creative. And for some reason, it sounds weird to say out loud, but um, when I create and when I imagine, I actually just close my eyes and put my arms down on my desk and put my eyes within my arms so that it's complete black. And
wow,
that's when I can be the most creative because I can see tons of stuff within my imagination or within my mind. And then
yeah,
when I have those ideas, then I can sketch and maybe they're great or maybe they are shit. And that's
yeah.
okay. But putting yourself in the best position to be creative has really helped me and knowing those things too.
Yeah, not being stressed. The stress part does not enhance your ability to be creative. It actually makes it more difficult. So if there's ways that you can reduce stress, like, it's going to sound crazy, but taking a cold shower, going out
Hmm.
for a run has been one of the best things for me. The cold shower side, 100%. If it's meditating, if it's jumping around and dancing to a song when nobody's around, just jump around and get your body moving. That physiological change, right? Physiology is everything. So moving your body, changing things, going to the gym, exercising, listening to some kind of motivational speech or something. It's all over YouTube, right? If you need some kind of push, you come back on fire, and making that part of your rituals each and every day. And next thing you know, you have more consistent lucky days, right?
Yeah.
Where you're
Yeah.
just
Like
in the
a,
flow state and you're like, holy moly, this has never been the case. Well, you're actively conjuring space in your own mind for that to grow and to flourish.
mhm.
But that takes a little bit of work, and it takes some discipline too. But man, the payoff is just unbelievable.
Yeah, I would agree with that. A pattern interrupter.
Yeah, 100%. Because we often need that. Our minds try to find those unsolvable problems, and we need to interrupt that pattern. It's like, I'm not creative today. Great. Okay, let's go see if I'm creative after a cold shower. Let's go in there for 5 minutes and freeze. Sounds crazy. I know. You come out and you're like, whoa. You come back down, you get to the table, and you're like, I got ideas now. Or go for that run and come back and sit down, and you're like, I've got the idea now. But it's
Mhm.
that pattern interrupt. It's switching things out. If you just sit there and bitch about it and woe is me, you're just going to sit there in that soup, right? And not get anywhere. So just, I don't know. I like sharing that stuff because it took me way too long to realize that I have full control over those things. I have much influence in those things, is what I should say. But
Mhm. And we
man, I've
also
definitely
like
good.
I guess going back to like as a manager, in the creative business, knowing that for myself and allowing my teammates to have the same freedom creatively, like just what we talked about, like,
Yeah.
yeah, get up, go for a walk, um, go do something else, go talk to your teammates or something like that. Like I try not to be, and I don't want to push anything that I wouldn't do onto a teammate.
Yeah.
So allowing them to be creative and allowing a little bit of freedom as I think like another part of the culture that
Yeah.
we try to instill into our team. So
Yeah, they're going to be much more creative when they're on their own terms,
yeah.
right? When you're like, look, for instance, we've been working a lot remote even after COVID, right? It's been kind of built it through there. And now the team typically works from home Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. They come in Tuesday and Thursday. And it's great. Everyone loves it because they save themselves, the team saves themselves an hour of driving a day, and they can just be more comfortable at their own house. It's perfect, right? And
Mhm.
yeah, and I'm like, why would we not do that? Because I need people to look at me every day so I can watch them. I'm not a micromanager. I'm a leader. I don't want that. I don't want that responsibility of like, what are they looking at on the internet? I'm like, no, we hire good people and we give them space to do their work. And that's that kind of autonomy, that space it's so important to the human spirit to be able to be creative, especially in the creative arts, right? So man, Alex, I could talk about this with you all day long. So if people are listening here, and I certainly appreciate all of your input and your thoughts, and I love hearing your story, how can people find you? How can they take a look at what you're doing and even possibly help you in some way?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, definitely have a website, www.foreshewda.com. We also have a kick-ass Instagram page and YouTube channel. So for sure, we post on Instagram every single day, different projects that we're designing, being a part of the construction process. So there's lots of cool content on there. We have our own in-house marketing manager or team. So we're able to get as much content at the drop of a hat, basically, which has been super, super great. So Instagram, YouTube, website, that's how you'll find us.
Awesome. Well, I know I was looking at your Instagram before we came on, and it's some very incredible stuff. Do you know your handle by chance for that?
Ooh, I think it is at Foreshew_DA. So FORESHEW_DA.
Perfect. Yeah, it's beautiful stuff. I mean, if you just need inspiration alone and you just heard the man's story, we all struggle with the same things as owners and the same mindsets, the same issues. We're all doing the same thing, right? Little differences here and there, but you're not an island. You're not alone. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. This is all part of the process. And that's why I
Yeah.
love to bring people like Alex on here who's killing it in what he's doing and showing that, hey, we're all just humans. We all struggle with stuff. Nobody's got it figured out. They may look that way, like, oh my God, they've got everything. I'm all messed up. No, we all struggle every day. We've got coaches. We've got mentors. We fail constantly. That's part of the entrepreneurial journey. And if you aren't pushing hard enough. So
Yep,
Alex,
agree.
yeah, thank you for coming on here today, and best of luck in what you're doing. Keep on working hard so you get luckier as you go. And any last parting words before we finish up?
Yeah, no, I super enjoyed being on the show, Josh. It was great. Questions took a different turn into what I thought it would be about, but I enjoyed the conversation thoroughly. So, yeah, any listeners out there, if they're wanting more information about what we do or even to just have a chat, like I love building my network, so reach out.
Perfect. I love that, Alex. And thank you, listeners, for listening along. I hope you picked up as much as I did from this episode. And keep going, keep pushing. You're not broken. Just keep doing what you love to do. That's where the passion's found. Just keep pushing. So talk to everybody next week.